Ours is a water world, from salty seas to freshwater lakes, from the ice caps to the rainforests, from crystal aquifers to the rivers that flow through our veins. Water makes up 70% of the Earth's surface. Who would have guessed that one of the most plentiful things on Earth would suddenly become one of the most valuable? In the new millennium, water and the ecosystems which depend upon it are under siege. This crisis is being played out vividly in our wetlands. South Florida contains some of the most famous wetlands on Earth. Most folks know about the Eastern Everglades, made up of a national park and water conservation areas which encompass a sea of grass stretching as far as the eye can see. Less well known and perhaps even more mysterious and varied is its neighbor to the west, the Big Cypress Swamp. Together, these two areas form one huge ecosystem. Today, over 1 million acres of the richly diverse Everglades in southwest Florida is protected in a variety of public lands. But in the 1960s, this land was slated to be drained and developed, just like many areas of Florida had been over the decades. Through the efforts of those who have a deep connection to this land and had a vision of seeing it protected for years to come, this unique region of the greater Everglades remains intact, a natural area where rare plants and animals can be found, and where people can recreate, escape the hustle and bustle of congested coastal cities, and enjoy the wilds of natural Florida in the Big Cypress Swamp. Big Cypress itself is a jigsaw of wildlife refuges, parks, and sanctuaries, recreational areas, private camps, and Native American communities. Some overlap, each has its own character, but all are bound together by a seasonally flowing river, a sheet of living water moving slowly across South Florida and into the Gulf of Mexico. Together, all the public lands in the Big Cypress Swamp region account for over 1 million acres.
One of the main reasons I started in my black and white photography is when my son was killed in an automobile accident. And I went to Big Cypress to kind of restore my soul. And one of my first pictures I took is called Ochapi. It was taken over this great prairie with cabbage palms and great thundering sky. I didn't realize at the time the whole foreground was cattails, but I thought it was sawgrass.
The photograph became an emblem of Big Cypress. But to Butcher's surprise, it also contained some important clues about the ecosystem, about what's right with it, as well as what's wrong. Humans are native to Big Cypress. We've been here for thousands of years. The earliest people settled in the 10,000 islands. They dined on the local fish, scallops, oysters. They tossed aside the shells, forming middens, which are still in evidence today. By the 1500s, Spanish conquistadors and English explorers arrived on a feverish quest for gold. for the most part, they were disappointed. No treasure, no mythic fountains. In short, they did not stay, nor did they guess that one day water would become almost as precious as gold. Man was just one part of the whole. It wasn't until Florida joined the Union that these wetlands became a destination and a target.
And it's not a coincidence that this is where the Seminoles gravitated towards when they had to move south. You know, the U.S. Army soldiers who tromped through, they thought this was, you know, a horrible place. They said it was abominable, a hellhole, you know, a godforsaken swamp that we should leave to the Indians, loathsome and horrible and terrible and impenetrable. But the Indians saw that this was a place that could support life.
The last century has not exactly been a model of restraint.
The Everglades and Big Cypress and South Florida's natural resources were always seen as a commodity to be exploited, not just by evil, greedy people, but by progressive, conservationists, well-meaning people who saw a wasteland. Wetlands were wastelands, and conservation meant the opposite of waste.